Alright, so let's go with another perk. Now you could start randomly, super randomly stuff, but I think it's not that good if you do so many randoms, like percussions, because it will sound random, if you just put something here, and then maybe there, and maybe here, and maybe here. No, it would just sound a little bit all over the place. So what I suggest you to do is to just have a look at the pattern we just created, kind of randomly, and then thinned it out, and then layer some of those elements. And we could, for example, layer those first 2 hits every time they are hitting in each new bar. Okay, so could, like, this was just like a random sample here. We didn't make like a completely new groove, which is then kind of complicated to understand sometimes for the listener. And of course we can, just watch this position here and layer it with one more sound. Every time it hits again, every new bar. And of course we can use those sounds here to just make a nice small interplay between like this note and this note here. So this would be like a fill note for this note. And it's still layered with another note down here. Could layer this one here. It's also possible. So I'm just trying to focus to layer on top of the rhythm of the tom which we created. Okay, so let's just go on and add maybe we can layer this sound here a little bit. You're watching out that you're laying it not with that kind of a similar sound, okay? So not another tom, because they would clash in pitch. Yeah, this can work. You don't have to do it every time. And maybe we can just like take one of those towers here if you want, and we will create like a fill in the end of our whole 4-bar loop here by just, as I said, dragging it on a 16th position here. So let's send this whole thing to our New York compression. And to our reverb. Not too much. And we can also add a compressor here, just to tame some of those high peaks here. Let's go to peak mode. There's some peaks that are very like popping out, and I think this is something we like at the end. If you're giving to a mastering engineer, the hell for a mastering engineer is if he gets like a pretty good mix down where everything is leveled properly, and then there's like this peaks coming out from your percussion. So this is why I just want to tame it here for a couple of dB. So let's just mute our main melody here for a second so we can concentrate more on our percussion. Yeah, sometimes like the speed repeat is like making a little bit crazy stuff. Maybe we can decrease the volume a little bit more. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool actually. Very like flowy. And it's like kind of on purpose, It's not that you think, okay, like this percussion is all over the place. Okay, so let's create another MIDI channel, and let's call this head. So now we'll just add our basic instruments back again. And let's go to our PML packs. Maybe we go with mine. whatever you want here. This sounds pretty cool. So let's just double click here, create a new MIDI track. And then we can just loop this section here. And let's also send our head to our wide and dirty preset. Not too much. Of course, you know, you can always send like your whole group into the reverb send or your individual elements. Of course, it's also smart to do it with your individual elements, because then you can really like, okay, my hi-hat should be a little bit more reverberized than, for example, my clap or my tom that are all in this drum group. Too much. Just a little bit. Another pretty cool thing that I've discovered all along the way was if you're inserting a shaker loop into a hi-hat pattern. So if we would duplicate this head channel here, and let's call this head shake. And now you're just searching for, I don't know, like in your library, just search for a shaker loop. So we just go for shaker and then go into the loop section here. And now we can just like drag a shaker loop into our sampler. And now this shaker loop will always play on our hi-hat position. But because, you know, there's a little bit of information here, it's not that cut off like a normal shaker would be. Like a one-shot shaker, it would be just a shaker. But now we have a little bit more information, and this can make a pretty interesting groove. So let's just switch through some shaker loops in our hi-hat positioned sampler and then see what we can come up with. So let's just increase the length of this MIDI note a little bit. Now you can hear what I'm talking about. This is not increasing the groove actually, so let's take another loop. You know, you have this ghost note here that's getting played as well. Here, this very small one. Pretty cool. I think in general you should watch out that the shaker loops that you are inserting into that sampler, that they shouldn't be like a lot faster or slower than the track you're working in. So I think plus minus 3 plus minus 3 BPM is totally fine, but everything else I think it wouldn't sound that groovy. So we can just duplicate this channel and do it with another one. Okay, not hearing anything. Let's try some different shakers. Tambourine also nice. Yeah, why not? So let's pan this one to the right and this one to the left. Just decrease the volume of this one shaker loop a little bit. Alright, so we can group those ones here and call them high drums. And now we just have to add our basic clap. So let's create a MIDI clip here. Call this clap. Insert a MIDI. And we can loop this one here. Cool, so now let's go into our drums and see under one shots. Let's just type in clap here and we'll sort it for us. I think like I would like to go like with a more like real clap here. Let's go to one-shot mode. And now we can just switch through those. Sounds super tight, I like that. Great. Could work. You know, this is like, in my world, I wouldn't use a sound like this because it's, for me, it's too aggressive. It's not like really interplaying with the other elements nicely. Maybe we could just turn down the volume a little bit for those harder samples. Maybe if we shorten this up, that's better. But let's change it a little further. Okay, so this one we could like, maybe we could use the filter in our clap here, in our sampler. Just shorten it up a little bit. And now let's increase the volume again. And then we can just insert a saturator here. To make it a little bit more snappy. So now it sounds very, very mechanical. That's not what we want. Just want to shape it slightly. Maybe just pitch it a little bit. No, okay. So this would, you know, those tracks where if it is filtered clap, I think it's also pretty cool. And we can of course just go and layer this one. So let's go into the sample switch mode again. I think it's so cool because it brings you directly back to your sample picking drop-down menu here. So let's deactivate the filter. Maybe we can layer this one with a real clap. Now we can duplicate this one again, pan it to the right, not to the left, and now let's change the sample here. Okay, so this is like how I would go about like creating drums like that, and you don't necessarily have to make a super huge impact, but sometimes small doublings on the side, they will just help you to make you sound more professional. Let's call this hi-hat 16th and we'll add another one of those. So let's go for a hat here and let's see what we have. Just searching for something short and tight, not too tacky. Yeah, maybe this. So now we're adding our 16th heights here. So let's drag this over. Let's decrease the volume right away because I know it will be a background element. Let's create our 16th pattern here. And now we can start alternating the velocity here. And I think it's cool if you emphasize like one of the like 16th syncopated positions here, which are the second and the fourth 16th note in your quarter note. Yeah, just duplicate it. Let's go to one-shot mode. And then we can add our pan again, outer pan. And let's decrease the rate so it's not that stressy. And of course, like throughout the track, you know, you can duplicate your head and then you can go for open head. Well, let's just go for open here. Where are our sample packs? Here, perfect. So this one is not the right sample, but let's go to one-shot mode. This is like super tech housey, you know, this is why I wouldn't pick this for melodic house. Maybe something like this would work out. Make it quieter, pan it to the right. And now let's change the sample again. I'm just searching, maybe open head is not right. Let's just search for a head. Something that is a little bit longer than the one we currently have. So in your arrangement, you know, you would like start with a very soft head, off head. So you have the off head position, you have the groove, and then you can add another head later on, and then you can, you know, you don't have to necessarily like make new position grooves, but you can layer your elements to make more impact throughout your track. So you can, yeah, make an impact too if you're arranging more elements in that are layering other elements. This is too trashy. Yeah, not bad. Let's just pitch it a little bit. Let's have a listen without it. This is very short, the one I picked earlier. This is adding a little bit more of groove to the head position. So let's add an EQ here and just get a... This is the perfect setting for this one, so we can just... Yes, get rid of those little bit annoying mid frequencies, and we can boost the high ones here. We could call this like, yeah, more aggressive head layer, even though it's not super aggressive. Alright, so, and we can start adding in our melody again. Okay, so let's have a listen to our drum groove on its own, and I think we're done then. Alright, so I think the last one was one of the coolest ones. Hey people, so I have to crash in again. Unfortunately, my cam died when I was making the conclusion for this whole drum groove part tutorial. So I will just try to repeat this and re-record it. To conclude, first of all, sample picking is the most important process, right? So if you are spending hours or even too many minutes on like EQing certain stuff, and you're hitting delay and putting all that effects on your channel, and you're just not satisfied, maybe that means that you need a different sample, and that's okay. So you will just go and flip the sample once more until you find something that's really fitting your track. The next thing that I want to conclude was this Sebastian Leger method that we've used earlier on, and I think this one can really help you overcome your writer's block, because if you don't know what to do and you're just stuck, it's easier to get rid of notes than to put in notes. So just use that 16th method, put all those notes in, cut some away, and there you go. Maybe you will get very funky and you don't even know how. Alright, so the next thing that comes on top, literally, on sample picking is layering. So if you want to get something that is very groovy, but you don't want it to be like all over the place, use different layers on the same positions, on the same rhythmical positions, and this can really spice up your groove, as well as it makes the sound that you layer much thicker. Another important aspect of the productions we've done here of this melodic house style is that you don't use too much bongo, conga, tablas, instruments in there, because we want to stick to more like simple rhythms, right? But if you want to implement bongos and congas into your production, please feel free and do whatever you want. But like in the examples I analyzed, I didn't hurt them that much. In the end, you can always use FX, for example, New York compression, wide and dirty presets, a little bit of room reverb, even delays and all that stuff, just to give your drums a little bit more living and space. But this is just the the topping on top of your nice layered, good picked sample. If you're using triplets, that's pretty cool actually, but then you should stay in your triplet grid with all of your instruments, otherwise the rhythms may clash with each other. Okay, so to wrap things up, I just wanted to thank you for staying here in this course, and this course was really focused just on the sample picking and on the production and groove part. So we didn't talk too much about crazy mixing decisions, because I'm of the opinion that if you pick the right sound from the beginning, you don't have to mix that much. So with that said, I hope you're doing great. I hope you have a little bit more inspiration for your production process, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.